Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, where we will be looking ahead to some cracking action at York and at Ascot this week, with the King George, of course, being the feature race. But we have plenty of other top-notch contests then to look forward to, and I will be looking forward to these races in the company of our regular team of Andrew Matt and Daryl Carter. And they had a good time of things last week, a winner apiece then. We had the wonderful old boy, Mr. Wagyu. He loves this time of year, winning at 5-1 for Andrew, and Frankie de Burle winning at Market Raisin for Daryl at 9-2 as well. So very well done, lads. More of the same this week. And we shall begin with our action then with the 150 at Ascot, the Group 3 Keeneland Stakes for the 2-year-old fillies over 6 furlongs, where Lezoo is a very warm favourite, and it's an each way price about the remainder, Andrew. So would you like to kick us off, please?
Yeah, I think Lezoo's overpriced at 7-4 here. I mean, you look at the history of this race, favourites got a good record, 5 of the last 10 have won. He'd make a profit backing them blind. And more importantly, horses who ran in the Duchess of Cambridge Stakes at the Newmarket's July Festival do incredibly well in this race. You just back them all and make a good profit. And I mean, Lezoo was second by half a length in that race, and the winner got first run and got away from them. And she was 2 from 2 before that. She's only gone down by half a length. She's back from Group 2 to Group 3 company, drawn high and still 9 of 9. That could be advantageous. Frankie Dettori on board, that could be disadvantageous. But even with the but I thought she should be evens or shorter. I'm thinking 7-4 is a great price. There was a horse who also ran at the Duchess of Cambridge who was entered the 5-day stage, Carmella for the David Lochnaryard. That one's not running. So I'm looking at all these, and you got horses who sort of been turned over at odds on at Pontefract last time out, are fairly prominent in the betting. Cuban Mistress, who's game enough, but keeps finishing second. You look at the rest of you thinking they're pretty hopeless, and I could see Lezoo going off 6-4 on here. 7-4 seems too big, so strong bet for me, Lezoo.
Oh, strong bet, like that a lot then. So Lezoo at the head of the market though, but like you say, probably a bit of value at 7-4. I was just going to throw it over to Daryl to see exactly what he fancied, but we lost him for a brief bit. Hopefully you're all sorted, Daryl, because we've had a very strong selection then from Andrew with Lezoo. Do you agree, or are you distracted?
Well, no, I ordered a parcel and I said leave it round the back because I'm doing a podcast. So he's gone around the back and he's shouting up my stairs.
And what viewers will not realise right now is that this is actually take 2 of this podcast. When I first threw the question of the first race to Andrew, his wife came along because she wanted the car key. So this is actually take 2. Daryl's postman clearly hasn't realised that either. So hopefully it's sorted.
You can't get the stuff, can you?
No. Do I agree with Andrew?
With Lezoo?
Not really. I do like her. I think she's a decent horse. I'm not a massive fan of her action, in all honesty. I think this is a deeper race than it first looks on paper. I mean, even the outsider, Cuban Mistress, had the super sprint winner in behind when running second at Sandown behind Rocket Rodney last time. Omni Queen is a horse that was much better than the bare result behind Dramatise when she clipped heels and then ran on strongly at the finish. Palm Lily was bought for 290,000, won really well at Kempton. Lots of size and scope about her. Again for the Ralph Beckett yard. Minatoka was really impressive on debut at Salisbury. Bombed out behind Lezoo next time, beating 4 lengths, which is not a. I'd say she probably took a step forward in defeat there, if anything. Glenlaurel was the horse I like. Now, probably beat nothing at Thirsk. Didn't really do a great time figure, but I was just really taken with the performance, the way she travelled through the race, the way she changed her legs, the way she was green under pressure, quickened away from him in a matter of strides. I thought she was a horse going places, and I'm hoping to see an improved performance from her. So I do think there's a lot of competition for the favourite, despite the fact that she sets the form. We know at this time of year, the 2-year-old form can flip and flop around. So I'm going to take a chance on Glenlaurel and hope that she's just as impressive as she looked at Thirsk and she improves for the run. I think she could be pretty smart. So 6-1, that'll do for me.
Yeah, it's actually 13-2 top price as well then. So yeah, Glenlaurel to take on Lezoo at the head of a market who is very unexposed, as most of these are then, and still could be anything for Daryl. Right, up next we have a bit of chaos. It's the jump jockeys who are being let loose over 5 furlongs. So God help us all. It's the jump jockeys Nunthorpe. It's a 0 to 80 handicap for 4-year-olds and over 5 furlongs at 205 at York. Always a great novelty this race. Tom Scudamore, who as we know has a good record in this race, will no doubt be popular in the market on Val de Travers. But Daryl, how do you play this race?
I don't know. I hope you two have done more work on this than I have, because I see jump jockeys on flat horses, and I just think this is just not for my money, to be honest with you. The first place I looked was obviously for Tom Scudamore, and Val de Travers won really well at Musselburgh last time, beating Sanabayona. That's a horse very much on the upgrade, so probably do for me, but honestly, this is not a race for me to get involved in.
Yeah, I hope he can hold Val de Travers. He's not easy, is he, with that high head?
No, he's not. A few of these, though, to be fair, ain't easy. Like Primo's Comet and that.
Yeah.
And this is too risky for my cash.
Yeah, so I know, get these jump lads with the bad hands on these fast sprinters, and Lord knows what's going to happen. But yeah, Val de Travers, actually, I've just got the prices through there, 8 to 1 with Tom Scudamore booked to ride. Then it's probably be enough for me as well. But who knows, Andrew? Have you got a more confident selection?
Yeah, I got quite interested in this race. Went down the rabbit hole a little bit. One question, Kate: how do they allocate the jockeys? Is it by draw, a bit like the Legends race, or are they booked as per normal?
Booked as per normal, believe it or not.
Right. So yeah,
booked
as per normal.
That's my Stoke-on-Trent background coming through there. So, but yeah, I mean, because Tom Scudamore's won this twice, you can have a look at Val de Travers, but then Mick Appleby's horses, you generally don't want to back them when they won last time out, and you look at what's happened this season following a win for Val de Travers. He was chinned at odds of 2 to 1 on, finishing 4th at Catterick, immediately following his reappearance win. And then his other win at Thirsk, he then finished 8th as the 7 to 4 favourite next time. So, yeah, I've got various theories why Mick Appleby horses generally go backwards after a win. I won't share them here because I haven't got my solicitor with me. But I wouldn't want to be taking a short price about Val de Travers despite the booking. The interesting thing about this race, obviously, Paul Midgley has won it twice from 4 renewals. When he hasn't won it, he's had the second 1 year and the second and third another year. He's got 5 of the runners, so look out for his. The previous year's renewal is often a very good pointer to this as well. And I think that might be because you look at the weight. Some of these are carrying 11 stone 12. They're not used to carrying any more than 10 stone during the course of their flat careers. And if you look at the previous, we've only had 4 runnings previously, but 3 of the only horses who'd won in handicaps previously, all of them carried at least 9 stone 10 to victory on at least one occasion. So perhaps if you sort of look through this and look at those horses who have carried humped big weights to victory, that might give you a bit of a clue here as well. So Sun and Sunny was interesting for Archie Watson. This one's twice winner with a big weight, and of course did finish second in the race last year behind the David O'Mara horse Soul Seeker. Soul Seeker, of course, having run well it before with Sean Bowen on, that would be of interest. Tongue-tied for the first time, which might be a slight concern. But yeah, it's kind of a race that's growing on me over the years. At first I kind of was quite dismissive, a bit like I am with the Shergold Cup. But as you get into it, as you get more data to look at, you think actually there might be a punting angle in here. So I'll go with Sun and Sunny for Archie Watson.
Sorry, Kate. Can you just repeat that angle again, Andrew? That was cracking.
Yeah.
Was it carrying what?
With the weights.
Yeah, if you look at, we've had 4 winners of this race previously. One of those had never won a handicap before. I think that was Fendale in 2018. But the other 3 winners who had won in handicap company previously had all carried at least 9 stone 10 to victory. So I guess you're saying they've got to be the kind of horse that's able to carry a big weight, because they're all humping what's the minimum weight, 10 stone 7. So if you look at some of those who've perhaps they're multiple winners, but those wins have come when carrying lesser weights. Maybe they haven't got the size to carry sort of jump jockeys weights. It's small samples we're dealing with still, and only the 5th renewal this year, but might be something worth keeping an eye on for the future.
That's top class weight. That top class.
Yeah, But like I say, it makes sense though, doesn't it? For these flat horses, obviously they're going to have all of the weights put up to accommodate for the larger jump lads then. And for a lot of these horses, like I say, it's going to be a shock to their system to actually be lumping that amount of weight around. So if you've got a horse that's already proven that, carrying that level, that amount of weight around, then that automatically gives them something to go on then in the context of this race. So yeah, something that I never would have thought of, but makes perfect sense. Take a boo, Mr. Mount.
Take a boo.
Take a boo. Right, we're on back to Ascot then now for the Group 3 Valiant Stakes for 3-year-olds and over a mile at 2:25. Looks a pretty open contest, really. So, Andrew, back to you, please, for your selection here.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. You look at the stats for this race. You know, it's been a race for 3- and 4-year-olds. Yeah, looking at the split, it's 5 winners apiece in the last 10 years. Now that's not particularly helpful because there aren't many horses aged 5-year-old who are running it. But when you look at the breakdown, had you bet all the 3-year-olds, you'd have made a profit of £16 over 10 years, a loss of £5.25 for the for the 4-year-olds. So maybe look at the classic generation. There's a real mixed bag in terms of which race they've run in last time, whether it's a handicap, whether it was a group race. But there is a simple system here. Just back any horse who ran fairly recently within the last 6 weeks, finished in the top 4 last time out, and you'd made a profit of £34. Now, had you just bet 3-year-olds, recent run, top 4 finish last time, 5 winners from 22 in the last 10 years, plus £31. So sort of using that, I was having a look at the 3-year-olds. Zanbaq heads the market 2-1 now, having finished second in a good handicap here last time out behind Heredia. That was in the Sandringham Stakes. However, she was held up that day, as were most of the horses who fought out the finish, and she was well drawn. And of course, Heredia disappointed at odds on next time out at Sandown. So maybe she was a shade flattered. Right draw, right running style for Ascot. Maybe she can't reproduce that now going on the round course instead of the straight course. Oscula's been running well, but this is a 4th start in 4 weeks, so maybe it's going to be one too many. Kind Gesture's progressive, but is one of about 3 or 4 front runners in here, including the German horse November. So they could go a bit too hard. I did look at Serenading for James Fanshawe, given we know how she's going to be ridden from off the pace. She might pick up the pieces and get in the frame at a big price. But I was going to throw a couple of quid at EDIKOS for Ed Bethel. Around about 40-1, I think. She's going to be ridden patiently. There's a bit of a doubt about stepping back up to a mile. She ran okay on the sole start at this trip, finishing 4th at York in listed company. Last time out, I was quite taken with that third to Oscula at Carlisle because she raced on the inside. Carlisle, like most tracks, overwatering and incompetence from the clerks of the course has caused some real fun and games. And we've had some sort of idiot tracks this year. Chester last Saturday, where they forgot to water the outside of the track and everything drawn high was winning. Pontefract, most meetings, they come wide and race on the parched ground that's never been watered. It was a bit like that at Carlisle. You get, it's good to firm good in places watered. Get 5 mil of rain on the morning of the race, and all of a sudden everything's got to race wide and stay off the inside rail. EDIKOS was too close to the inside that day. I thought doing well to finish 3rd. And although there's a stamina doubt, she's 40-1, so there's compensation in the price. I'll just throw my 50p each way at her each way.
Oh, I like it. The outsider of the field, then 40-1 for EDIKOS there for the Ed Bethel yard. And again, no, plenty of shade being thrown then at a few of these tracks, but it is true and a point being made then. And Andrew's just sound off of his soapbox, Daryl. Who do you like in this Ascot race?
Yeah, not quite as big as 40-1. 2-1 is a bit disappointing, but Zanbaq for me. I thought the fact that they were gonna go pretty hard here would be very much in her favour. I understand what you're saying, but saying that she was slightly flattered at Ascot coming from off the pace, but the way the ground she made up hand over fist towards the end of that race was, you couldn't help but be very taken with the performance. I thought she was the best horse in the race. So Heredia getting beaten at Sandown in a race which I didn't think was going to be set up for her doesn't bother me too much. I think she's going to be the best horse in this race, whether it's on this day or going forward. And I think she's going to have the race run to suit. It's a slight concern that her previous run at Haydock was what I know she won, but it was below bar and it was kind of laboured. It was a laboured effort. Everything was hard work. I'm hoping she's not the type to start throwing in poor runs. So I'm going to give her a chance. I think 2-1 is fair. I think she's progressive. Jim Crowley's here, which is always a positive for these Shadwell horses. And yeah, I think she's got a big chance. I just completely agree with what Andrew said about EDIKOS. I was concerned about the trip of a mile for that one. That horse was also on my radar from the Carlisle race, but I think Zanbaq's the most likely winner, especially if they're going to go hard, which I think they are going to.
Maybe it's exact time, and EDIKOS to finish second to Zanbaq, or EDIKOS to finish second to the field, something like that. And
yeah, I'll have to have a fiver
or
or something, because it'll kill me if she wins. I've got it sat in the tracker and not, and she turns out to stay the mile. But I do think there won't be anything finishing stronger than Zanbaq. So I think that would be the way to go.
Perfect. Yeah. So the lads in sort of agreement, sort of disagreement there with Zanbaq though for Daryl at 2-1. But yeah, you may just have to have a little saver then just to agree with Andrew after the KC made them for the outsider of the field. We're back to York now for the dash handicap, which is a 0-105 contest for 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs at 240. So the jump jockeys get the 5, the professionals get the 6 in the dash handicap, but it seems fair, and it's a wide open race where it's 8-1 the field at the time of recording. So Daryl, plenty to take aim at.
Yeah, there is 2. I always like 2 in these big handicaps. It never normally comes to fruition, but it makes you feel better, doesn't it? You got 2 chances. Silver Samurai disappointed for me at Ascot after winning for the column at Haydock in really, really impressive fashion. The problem was that he was drawn out in stall, 5, and they just converted straight down the centre. So all of a sudden he was on the wing of the field on the wrong side of the track, and then he had to slip in behind. Then when he was going a quicker, and he sort of had no room to really stretch his legs. It just all felt wrong. Honestly, I shouldn't have put him up that day, but I did, because I was just so taken with his previous performance at Haydock. I was in terrible form at that time as well. So I'm hoping that this sort of scenario is going to be much better. A fast 6 furlongs at York, where they tend to go pretty hard early on, I think is definitely going to suit him. They tend to converge down the centre of the track here. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. You don't tend to get fields blown apart in the early stage at these York sprint contests, whereas at Ascot you can have a group to on the stand side, a group on the far side, a group down the centre, and it can be pretty difficult for a horse that just wants to sit in behind a pack and then just quicken away. I think this scenario will suit him much better. There's definitely more to come from him. You don't win the way you did at Haydock in a very, very good time, very easily, without having more to come. He's unexposed at 6 furlongs, and he's run well at York over 7 before without quite sitting out the trip. So he'd be one that I'm going to keep on side, although his price keeps shortening it, and I don't like it. But and Venturous, the last year's winner who won this at 33-1, he's already been clipped from 20s into 10s. Flat, straight tracks and fast ground is exactly what he wants. Outside of his 2-year-old season, all of his 6 furlong wins have come when stepping up from 5 furlongs. And he caught the eye at Ascot Pine Mountain Peak last time and just given far too much to do at the rear of the field. Again, another one that was trying to quicken, sort of had to switch left and right, just losing a bit of momentum at a crucial time. He's handicapped to have a say, and I think he is just coming to the boil now. So Venturous, a slightly bigger price, and Silver Samurai being the 2 I'll have a stab with.
Yeah, like you say, both of them being clipped in then the whole while. But yeah, Silver Samurai 11-2, and then into 10-1 then for Venturous, who was 20s then originally for last year's winner for Daryl. Andrew, any similar thoughts there, or where do you go with this race?
Yeah, I've got a big problem with this race. The problem is it's 6 furlongs. It's called a dash.
Now, I know.
The dash is 5 furlongs at Epsom. A dash implies a small amount. Oh, a dash of lime in that, please. It's a tiny bit, not a 6 amount of lime.
You're fuming when you go on holiday and you ask the waiter for a dash and they give you the glug.
That aside, I've tipped Silver Samurai in Racing and Football Outlook this week, drawn out of it in the Wokingham when I bet him. I was a big fan of his last year, and often put him up as a bet over 7 furlongs. And although he ran well on several occasions, the drop back to 6 has been the making of him this season. When he won at Haydock, he was on the slowest part of the track. He was drawn 8. He raced more towards the stand side. It was an advantage to be drawn low and race far side that day. So I think he'll run a good race. I mean, York, you wouldn't say is the ideal track for a hold-up horse, but you look at it on paper, you think, yeah, there's plenty of pace here. And you go back to that Haydock race on the 28th of May. Third in that was Nationwide for John Butler, who was drawn in stall 9 and also came from off the pace. So I think if the race is run to suit Silver Samurai, it will also be run to suit Nationwide. So if you're backing Silver Samurai, I think you'd be mad not to have sort of 10 or 20% of your stake as a forecast or reverse forecast with Nationwide as well. Because if they go hard, you know, where one is, the other one will be quite close as well. The other one I was interested in, aside from those two, is Atomic Lady for Tim Easterby, who has got a really good record here at York. Now, the first time she ran here, she was a winner on her nursery debut, odds of 9-2. And then the next time, she didn't run here again until August of last year at the Ebor meeting in the Goffs Premier Yearling Stakes. She's finished second by a neck after making the running. And you look at the horses who beat her, the horse who beat her, Ever Given, and the horse who finished third, Wings of War. They're now rated 108 and 107. You know, she split that pair and she's rated 85. Now, since then, she's only had one run back at York. That was on her seasonal debut this season. She's finished 9th of 19. Doesn't look brilliant on the face of it, but when you look at that race, they've gone a bit too hard up front and they've set it up for the closers. The first 3 in rear, towards rear of midfield, towards rear. Now, the horse who did best of the prominent races was Lethal Levi in 4th at 20-1. And of course, he's come out and won that big heritage handicap for 3-year-olds at the July Festival at Newmarket. So although she finished 9th of 19, she was actually 3rd best of those who were ridden prominently. Other prominent races in that race have come out and run well in defeat or won since as well. So I think Atomic Lady, if stall 2 is no disadvantage, will run well. But then you look at the pace, you think, yeah, maybe she's going to be one of several front runners. All they'll do is set it up for a closer, and we should just do the Silver Samurai and Nationwide forecast again. So, yeah, I'll go Silver Samurai. But yeah, that's kind of like, you know, one of 3 that I'm interested in.
Yeah, but mainly looking at that angle with a pace collapse then on the front end, and hopefully all eggs in the basket then of the hold-up performers of Nationwide and with Silver Samurai as well at 11-2 for Silver Samurai, and then Nationwide 8-1. But yeah, that's very interesting angle into the race. But good cases made all round then. Right, we have the 3 o'clock at Ascot. This is the International Stakes, which is a heritage handicap for 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs. And again, it is fiercely competitive. So, Andrew, right up your street again, this handicap. Who wins it for you?
Yeah, this is the belter. I had a good look at this race on Monday because I'm live blogging for the Tote because it's Whirlpool Day at Ascot on Saturday. So tune into Twitter to follow me on that or on the Tote website. Ropey Guests, the old boy, fantastic horse, bloody hard to win with.
Yep.
But if you're doing Tote exactas and trifectas, just bank on Ropey Guests to finish second. I was lucky enough to do that at Ascot, and he did finish second at 40-1. I copped the trifecta. Didn't take my own advice last time at Newmarket when he's second again. Drawn low, that might not be advantageous, but yeah, Ropey Guest, stick him in your place pot. Jumbie's been running well all season. I tipped him up each way in the Bunbury Cup last time. I think if the step back up to 7 would suit. Yeah, he ran well, met a bit of trouble in running. Headgear goes on this time, cheap pieces. He should be thereabouts. Tactical had what turned out to be a poor draw in the Buckingham Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot, finishing 6th. He failed to see out the 1 mile trip when coming back to Ascot next time, and will be happier back down in distance. Star Orion, who only Rob Hornby knows how he wasn't placed at Royal Ascot, was drawn out of it at Newbury in the Bunbury Cup, one of only 2 to race on the far side. Fresh was drawn out of it in the Wokingham, and you know, will probably be popular each way on the day. But the one I'm going for, though, is our old friend Aratus, who's had absolutely no luck with the draw this season. First time up, 3 runners at Leicester, probably needed the run, but Adam Kirby must be the only person other than Jim Crowley on this planet who knows you can't be down the stand side at Leicester on the straight course. He's raced alone, got beaten about 58 lengths. Next time out, he's running the Victoria Cup over course and distance, running an absolute blinder against the draw bias. And then last time out, he's in the Hunt Cup, not stayed the mile. and he's finished 10th of the 29 runners. He was drawn high. The only two horses who beat him on his side of the track was Sinjari in 5th, who won next time out, and Bless Him in 7th, who won the Bunbury Cup at 25-1 next time. So that's incredible form. I like the fact that Adam Kirby's gone to York, so that he's off and Tom Marquand's on. That's a jockey upgrade in my opinion. And so yeah, I thought Aratus stall 13. You know, I'm guessing that highest draws are going to be favoured again, or certainly that's where they're going to want to race. So yeah, very keen on here on Aratus. I've had a good each way bet today at 16-1.
Oh, nicely done then. So Aratus 16-1. We will go with that, but good cases made all round. Sabre Guest going to be put into the place spot. Very well done for that second at 40-1 on his penultimate start as well. Gussie didn't follow it last time out, but Aratus then with Tom Marquand taking over in the saddle for Andrew. Was the postman back, Daryl?
Oh, someone trying to clean the bloody windows now.
You're the popular man of the street today.
I think it's MI5 just spying on you, Dale.
Yeah.
I do need my windows cleaned, but not right now. This is a cracking race. I suspect that the cheek pieces are actually going to help Jumbie. He did find trouble in running in the Bunbury Cup. He hung to the left as he was running on quite strongly, and he did hit the line. You know, still full of running. I thought. This horse is surely, I don't know why they've wasted so much time with him over 6 furlongs, because he's a horse to me that'll get 7 and get a mile. I'm just slightly concerned about the draw down in stall 6, as Andrew mentioned. I favour high draws, whether that's right or wrong, and you come unstuck with that is what it is. But it is frustrating when you do favour high draws and you pick a low drawn runner, and then all the action happens over on the rail, on that far side rail, or stand side rail. So I do fancy high drawn runners. Chief of Chiefs is interesting. Colin Keane is on. Jamie Spencer's off. He's elsewhere. He's on. Bless him. Sorry. But he is interesting. He's frustrating to back. If anyone's ever been backing Chief of Chiefs, you've been waiting a long time for a win. But at Ascot in the Buckingham Palace, it was very strange. He did best of those drawn high, and they basically lost so much ground from being drawn high because the action happened in the centre to far side. What they ended up doing straight out the gates, all those drawn high just ended up coming straight over. So they ended up forfeiting enough ground by just coming over to the centre. At one point, he might as well have been drawn stall 2 rather than stall 25. He lost that much ground. Then he was weaving his way through the field, and he obviously was beating 1.5 lengths. It wasn't a bad run. I thought...
What was annoying about that was no one had explored the stand side all week.
No.
All they did was they got it into their heads that you wanted to be down the middle, and then when they finally explored the stand side rail on sort of Friday and Saturday, it was a massive advantage, wasn't it? In the
exactly.
In the Wokingham and the Platy Jubes.
Most of the sprint races at Royal Ascot, you were benefited to be drawn low, but over a mile, over 7 furlongs in a mile, in those in the bigger field events, it was definitely an advantage to be drawn high, as it always is. And we always have the same conversation every year at the Royal Meeting where we're like, oh no, we don't know about the draw. We do know, we know it's high, but it's just whether the jockeys decide to, in the first few races, to develop the action over the centre to far side. But either way, Chief of Chiefs was worth an upgrade. There's a couple of others I like. Ropey Guest, I feel so sorry for Ropey Guest back as well, because he's done really well the last couple of times. He did very well from his draw in the Buckingham Palace. I thought he was on the wrong side of the track, starting out on the wrong side of the track in the Bunbury Cup, but he is just vulnerable to something that can beat him. I was going through this race. I came down on Documenting, who, for whatever reason, it frustrated the hell out of me. I backed this horse at York, right? And he looked like he was coming to the boil, and it was my own fault because they stuck Alec Valansky on him, a £7 claimer. And I had nothing against the lad, but there's a reason he's a £7 claimer. He's just not experienced as other jockeys. Now, I really don't understand why trainers have a horse that runs really well in a top handicap, finds a good spot for him next time, drops him in grade, and then sticks an inexperienced jockey on when they've got an absolutely fantastic opportunity to win a race. It just doesn't work. It's like they value weight over the brain of an experienced jockey.
Well, they probably value money as well, because they don't have to give a percentage of the prize money to the jockey, do they? They just put it in their own pocket and
yeah, probably. But they always come unstuck when it happens. It never works. So I don't understand why they do it. But Jason Hart's back on documenting. I thought he ran a blinder in the Buckingham Palace. He's a huge price at 33-1. He's dropping down the handicap. He is more than capable in his day. This is his trip. He'll love fast ground. And he is a class act when he puts it all together. And the other class act is Accidental Agent at 25-1. I don't understand why he continues to be such a big price in these handicaps. He won really well at Newmarket. I tipped him that day. I think he was like 11-1 that day in a terrible handicap. But then he ran an absolute screamer in the Victoria Cup to finish second. He is another one that's drawn 19, and he could just get that fast finishing strip down that stand side rail. He was undone by his track position in the Bunbury Cup. He did the best of those from on the far side of the track, and he was in rear as well. I thought it was a magnificent performance. He's in the form of his life at the moment, and he's just a horse you don't want to write off in the form of his life, especially at Ascot. So two big prices, 25s and 33s. I think they'll be my two stabs, but they will be win bet only, because the likes of Accidental Agent, he's probably going to get there, or he's not. He's just going to throw in a poor one, really. So. Yeah.
That's just him all over, isn't it, though? But like you say, with the form that he actually does come here in, at that price is huge then for him to lug around 10 stone then in this. But like I say, he is a class act, and then documenting class act as well. Again, a huge price. A good case is made, and very good prices as well that Daryl has sided with for that very competitive race. Right, we have more group action now with the Group 2 York Stakes for 3-year-olds and over a mile 2 at 3:15, where Claymore is a strong favourite at the head of the market on the back of his success at Royal Ascot, where he overturned Reach for the Moon. Fair and squarely, in my opinion, anyway. And being a 3-year-old, he's getting lumps of weight from his older rivals here too. And yes, many will argue about his disappointing run in the French Guineas on his penultimate start prior to his Ascot win, but he was drawn out of it effectively at Longchamp. But anyway, it was drawn wise to ball, so I was willing to draw a line through that anyway. And then you look back at his second behind Native Trail, just his second career start in the Group 3 Craven Stakes. Very, very smart form. So I'm just happy that the horse has confirmed that and confirmed himself as a serious type. And he should have far more to come as he climbs the ranks and is able to take advantage of the weight for age allowance here too. So it is Claymore for me, Daryl, but who do you side with?
I think Claymore's a lay at these prices. Yeah, I think he's a terrible price. I think he's an absolutely shocking price at 10. He dictated a slowly run race at Ascot in the Hampton Court. The only significant horse he's really beaten is Reach for the Moon, who has not really been the same horse as he was last year. I thought Cresta was close on him all the way to the line as well, and I don't really think much of that horse. That race was the slowest of the three across the 3 days, and quite significantly. He was around 10 lengths slower than Dubai Future, who run over the same trip, albeit there's a couple of days between them, so take that with a pinch of salt. But Claymore would have had the quicker ground, given the way the track was drying out. I couldn't have it. I couldn't have him at all. I don't like him. Dubai Honor is the one for me. I was kind of split between Dubai Honor and Dubai Future. Dubai Honor is the one for me, though. I'm going to come down on him. In the Champion Stakes last year, he was the only horse to break the 12-second per furlong marker, and he did it twice between 4 and 3 furlongs and 3 and 2 furlongs. It's interesting that Mark Wand is obviously riding for Haggis, but at Ascot and not here. But Stevie Donohue's got 50% record when going to York for William Haggis, and William Haggis doesn't usually waste his bullets. If you go back to the Shima Classic, he was beaten 4 lengths by Shira, but he was at the rear of the field that day, or towards the middle of the pack, towards the rear of the midfield, and there was just no pace on whatsoever, and he was stuck in the middle of the pack. He just couldn't get riding or racing at all. The time before in Hong Kong, where he was only narrowly beaten by Love's Only You, that was a really good run. He had to negotiate a passage and barge a couple of horses out of the way to try and get on terms. He just couldn't get there in time. I thought it was a really, really good one. And last year's champion stakes second Silhouette definitely is the standard setter in this particular race. I think he's still improving. He's still got more to come. I think his best trip probably could be 1.5 miles in time. But I have no doubt about it. He is better than these. Dubai Future is the slightly quicker horse. They actually met in the Shima Classic, and Dubai Future sort of made a move around the outside, just sort of outspeeded Dubai Honor, but just couldn't sustain it. And I think Dubai Honor is the stronger stayer in the field. I think he'll outstay these. There should be a good bit of pace on. Dark Moon Rising should be going forward. I think Claymore will obviously try and implement the same tactics again. And I'm hoping that Dubai Future will keep them honest while Dubai Honor will outstay him. I think he's a cracking price. If you can get 9 or 4 about him, I'll take it all day long.
Oh, so 9 to 4 then for the strongest stayer in Dubai Honor, wasn't it? Rather than Dubai Future then as the quicker horse who might put the pace for the race, taking on Claymore and Dark Moon Rising at the front of it, then on the front end, where I am concerned about Dark Moon Rising putting the pressure on Claymore. But I was hoping he was just going to do the exact same and try and go forwards and then dictate from the front. So very divided opinions then between Daryl and myself, Andrew. How do you split them?
I'm in agreement with Daryl.
Of course.
I tipped Claymore at Royal Ascot. I love the horse, but he's a 3-year-old running in the York Stakes, and you have to go back to 2006. Best alibi 5 to 2 on to find the last winner. Okay, only 11 have tried since, but a lot of them were short prices. He'll probably get taken on by Dark Moon Rising, the other 3. I thought there were 3 runners in this race, or 2.5. Dubai Honor, Dubai Future, and BUSKER. There's your trifecta. And you look at the Racing Post ratings. Dubai Honor, Dubai Future, miles clear of the rest. You look at the speed figures, same again. I can't see any other outcome other than the 2 3-year-olds finishing last and second last. And one of them's 11 to 8 favourites. Incredible. So you've got to get on and take a price about the forecast as quickly as possible, because I can see Claymore going massively on the stink and drifting markedly come Saturday. So I like Dubai Honor. I'd make him the pick in the race. BUSKER, 10 furlongs, bit of a doubt, but you look at his York form. He's only had a couple of runs here, stayed on well over a mile, finished second by neck in a field of 17, and a good 4th as well. I think BUSKER is going to be ridden with a place in mind. So, you give me a tenner. I'll have a 5 at Dubai Honor to beat BUSKER, a 5 at Dubai Future to beat BUSKER. I can see BUSKER finishing second. And, for those of you who've got Sky Bet accounts, you lucky fellows, they offer prices on horses to finish exactly second. So go with your ropey guests in the 3 o'clock at Ascot, and go with your BUSKER here and do the double. So there can be some nice prices available there.
Oh, nicely done then. Yeah, so an exact there as well, but also very keen on Dubai Honor though as well then. So yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, Dubai Honor the pick, but I'll be playing exotics in this race.
So like you say, rather be going with the exotics, but with the straight play, then that would be the one. So interesting. I'm not going to take it personally between the 2 lads, and we will move on to the 3:35 at Ascot. We're signing off with the big one, the King George for 6th and Queen Elizabeth Stakes, a Group 1 for 3-year-olds and over a mile 4 at Ascot, and it is a very good renewal for all that we lack the Derby winner Desert Crown, who was ruled out with a setback, but we still have a cracking lineup in here, plenty of different angles into this race, lots of jockey switches too. So Andrew, your idea of the King George winner, please.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest races to look at on the day, I thought, despite the small field. And I'd much rather find the winner of the Moët and Chandon at 3 o'clock at Ascot, the huge field heritage handicap, rather than this. Probably Westover. Now, I don't like to admit that he was unlucky at Epsom on Derby Day in the Derby, because I bet Who You Mild each way to in the exacta who finished second, but Who You Mild would have finished third, or had Westover got a run. He's bolted up in the Irish Derby next time out. You think he's probably going to do the same here. In terms of sort of 6 to 4 versus 11 to 4 about Emily Upjohn. Now I know Emily Upjohn was unlucky in the Oaks, but that's the Oaks. This is taking on the Colts here. It's a completely different kettle of fish, and I can see Emily Upjohn not finishing the first 2 here. Mishriff, I mean, you could argue he was unlucky at Sandown, but they finished in the heap, and I'm still not convinced by his form in Britain, who's a one win from his last 6 starts in this country. Torquator, Tasso is quite interesting because he always needs his first run of the season, outside of his seasonal debuts, he's 6 wins and 4 places from 10 starts. And the closer he runs to his last race, the better he seems to perform. He only raced 3 weeks ago, so I think there could be more to come from him on only his 3rd start of the season. So as an outsider, as a place part inclusion, as a one for your exactas with Westover, I'd certainly consider him. And Pile Driver as well. His record in small fields is excellent, and he very rarely finishes out the first 2 when he's at a field of 9 or fewer runners. I think it's sort of 4 wins, 4 seconds from 9 starts. So I was looking at Pile, horses that might be ridden to sort of pick up the pieces perhaps and try to get second, thinking they can't beat Westover. So yeah, I was sort of talk Westover. I think will win, but maybe for the exacta, Torquator, Tasso, and Pile Driver take on Emily Upjohn.
Oh, I like that. There's more exotics for Andrew in the King George, but a good way to play the race and try and boost your returns. Anyway, Daryl, who do you like in the King George?
Yeah, this is a cracking race. Do you know what? I had a second glance at Pile Driver, but just a slight thing for me with Pile Driver is that he hangs to his right. That's why he caused Alassi so many problems when he won at Epsom, because he was on the rail and he was just sort of hanging up the camber. He doesn't really handle Epsom. So I'd put the line through that. And I know it's strange to say that when a horse has won there, but trust me, he doesn't really. But he's a horse that will need to swing into this straight and he will need to be on the rail to keep galloping. He's not the strongest stayer at 1.5 miles. That would just be a slight concern. But he is interesting. It's a little bit insulting that he's a 28-1 shot in here, I think. I'm going to take on Westover. I think that Irish Derby form is worth absolutely nothing, really. Tuesday was at least £10 below her best there. She's beating 10 lengths. I don't think much of this Piz Battle, this horse that people have been going on about all season, I just don't see where they've got the excitement from. And I thought, other than that, the race was pretty much worthless, in all honesty. So I'm not getting overexcited as everyone else is. I know Colin King said he's one of the best he's ever ridden. I'm just highly surprised by that, because it's not like the race.
I think he said that so he'd keep the ride and Rob and get back on. So. Yeah,
I would agree, because it's not like the race did a good time figure or anything like that. The form is not that great. The Derby form obviously is pretty decent, you would say, but Maskale has been well beaten since. Nahani's not really shown himself to be anything. He was well touted for the Derby. He was beaten 16 lengths by the West Wind Blows, who just did too much too soon and didn't stay that trip. I'm not ready to tear apart the Derby form just yet, but I think Desert Crown is very, very smart, and he did it very, very easily. You compare that race as well in terms of Emily Upjohn to the Epsom Oaks, and the time figure was much better for the Derby than it was for the Epsom Oaks. So I'm just not. I like Westover as a horse. Last year I watched him on debut and I thought, Christ, this horse could be something special. And then Bullet Force just kept letting the form down. Everywhere you turn, it kept bloody letting the form down. And then I heavily backed him at Pontefract, and he was beaten in an enlisted race at Pontefract. And I just thought, oh, God, maybe he's not what I thought he was. Turns out he comes out and wins at Sandown, and then he runs like that in the Derby. And I don't know, just for me, it's just all, I don't know. Is he this superstar? I don't know. I think maybe over a St. Ledger trip he could be something like that, but I think he lacks a turn of foot. Emily Upjohn, I like her, but there was a slight question mark of me about her finishing effort in the Oaks. I don't know whether that was Frankie or whether it was actually her or what, but I don't know. I need to see more from her. And again, she's against the boys. Mishriff, I love him as a horse. He let me down desperately last year at Ascot, and I've never really forgiven him. I'm not really convinced he's 1.5 miles either. Now, I know the last day at Sandown when he was beaten the neck by Verdini, I know that he was a very unlucky loser, but that doesn't always mean that he wants to go back up and trip. I thought the race set up quite nicely. I mean, when he was quickening, I thought he had one of the sharper turn of foots other than Verdini, which I thought would happen in the race when we spoke about it. But they were all in a bunch at that furlong pole. And he was quick enough to try, or he was almost quick enough to try and get out and do them for a turn of speed. So I'm not overly convinced he wants 1.5 miles. I cannot believe, for the life of me, the Arc winner is 12-1 or 14-1. I'm shocked. How on earth this horse? This is absolutely madness that this horse is a double-figure price. the arc form from last year is absolutely rock solid. A brilliant piece of form. Needed the run at Baden-Baden this year, and then goes and wins really quite impressively at Hamburg. If you go back and watch the race, it was quite an impressive performance. This horse stays forever, and it's got a pretty smart turn of foot. Is constantly on the improve. You go back to the Alpinista run where the horse was beaten by 2 lengths, but it doesn't tell the story of the race because he got no run whatsoever and couldn't get out in time and stayed on and closed Alpinista down really, really strongly. Alpinista is a 118 rated horse, won the next 3 starts. You know, the form is there, right there in black and white, and I just don't understand how on earth this horse is a 12 or 14 to 1 shot. I'm scratching my head. I must be missing something. I know it's probably going to be the fastest ground he's run on, but other than that, I can't quite understand. I can't quite understand why this horse is a double figure price. I'm shocked. Am I being stupid or?
I think it is just the ground. I think that's all it is. It's just that it's not the fact. I mean, connections have said that he doesn't not handle it. It's the fact that he just handles soft and testing so much better than other horses. And that's what kind of gives him his advantage rather than sort of it levels his ability off then against these top horses on a quicker surface.
I agree. But even when they ran in Germany on good ground behind Alpinista, the level of that form, getting a clear run there probably would have beaten the 118 rated horse, is still not miles off what's going to be required to win this.
Especially it all comes down to price, doesn't it? And
especially if
you're backing a horse at double figures, everything's not going to be right, is it? There's going to be a doubt about something, whether it's the trip, the draw, the jockey, or whatever. And in this case, it's the going. So, you know, if it's 6 to 4, you wouldn't bother. It's 12, 14 to 1. Have a few quid on.
But like the prices are suggesting that Mishriff's going to run to 125 over 1.5 miles when, I mean, he hasn't run over a mile and a half since being beaten in this race last year. In Britain, he's never won over 1.5 miles. So you know what I mean? Like, I think there'll be enough of a pace on here. I think Broome will take him along. Emily Upjohn won't be far off the pace this time around. I wouldn't have thought after the ride last time. I suspect that John and Faded Gosling will be trying to keep the pacemaker honest. But I think Torquator Tasso won't be far off either. And whatever outstays him will win. But double figure price, that'd do me, thanks.
Oh, nicely. Yeah, so 12 to 1 then for the arc winner, Torquator Tasso for Daryl. But it is just that kind of race where it divides all different opinions there. Broome is wonderful, but can I really see him giving the weight away to the younger horses in the context of this race? No. Mishriff, I agree. I think he's better over 10 furlongs for all that he's won a Shima Classic over this trip. But as you say, in this country, I think that he's just a better horse over the 10, and he proved his turn of foot to manage to get himself out of trouble even on his latest start anyway at Sandown in the Coral Eclipse over the 10 furlongs. Pile Driver, again, I don't know, he's a wonderful horse, but to give that weight away again, I just have those slight doubts then about him. Torquator Tasso, I do have the doubts about the ground in terms of leveling him off. Like, say he is sort of a stuffy, lazy type of a horse where he takes his first run. They can never get him fit for his first run, and then he needs that. But they are still working towards the arc. That is still being touted as the main aim. And Emily Upjohn, I still think that the classic generation, the colts are better than the fillies still. And as you say, I know that Tuesday didn't run any sort of a race last time out then, but I still don't think that the fillies are anywhere near as good as the colts. So sort of by default, I've been left on Westover then, where I think he has more speed than we're giving him credit for. When, as you say, initially I was thinking of him as a St. Ledger horse anyway, but I still think that over this trip, with the weight that he's getting, slightly frustrated that Rob Hornby hasn't got back onto him, but that's a whole different agenda, not to take away from the horse's chances here whatsoever. So yeah, for me, with the weight that he's getting, I thought that Westover, just by process of trying to eliminate a bunch of really classy horses, would be the one then for me. Now, unfortunately, I have to go get a root canal, so we haven't got time for me to ask what are your best bets from anywhere else, but you can catch the lads' best bets then in their column from anywhere else. But what I will get for you, though, for our final bit of this show is your naps, please. So, Andrew, I'll go to you for your nap of the weekend, please.
Mr. Wagyu, it's July, it must be running. No, I'll go Aratus in the 3 o'clock at Ascot, and good luck having your new dentures fitted, Kate.
Thanks so much. Exactly. I'm getting to that age now where it was inevitable, really. Daryl, your nap of the weekend, please.
3:15 York, Dubai Honour.
Oh, like it. Okay, I'm going to go Westover then in the 3:35 at Ascot in the King George. May as well play the big race. So yeah, apologies lads for not getting to your bets, but yeah, this tooth, it's got to come out. So yeah, or whatever they have to do to it. So got to run for that. But thank you so much to the lads for all of their hard work. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the action this weekend. We'll speak to you again next week.